Good afternoon to you, my friends, and how's everybody doing? Hope you are still here with us. We've just had another broadcast of Tell Me Why here on my channel. A wonderful adventure game recently premiered on Xbox Game Pass, and we just continued with Chapter 2 that was in fact released today. We had plenty of fun trying to unravel all the mysteries from our friend's childhood, and so far so good, really. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and there are lots of interesting parts of the story which are both original, innovative and unusual. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but you will find out for yourselves once you start either watching our streams or playing the game indeed. We are continuing now with Red Dead Redemption. As indicated in my introduction, we'll be trying to really complete as much as possible before this wonderful, 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 deeply atmospheric and greatly immersive Wild West game departs from Xbox Game Pass next week. Anyone who played it will tell you it is a vast game, so you can do loads of different things in there, particularly if you're doing all the side missions, collecting cigarette cards and various other bits of itinerary that need to be picked up in order to progress forward. And a game which you can play for many months and years, but we'll try to do our best, and then maybe at a later date we'll continue once we purchase the game as well. It is offered on a greatly discounted rate here on Xbox. Anybody who is the subscriber to Ultimate will get, I think, 35-40% off, but still, considering that you are purchasing one of the Premier Editions, you will have to pay probably more than £35, and you can double check on the store really the exact figure. I'm not going to be buying it as yet, but certainly I enjoyed it plenty here whilst it was featured on Xbox Game Pass. But I have to say that it didn't really stay here for too long. I really anticipated the game to be here until Christmas or so, and I got an email, a notification the other day from Microsoft saying it's departing on the 7th, so we still have about 4 or 5 days. And in some instances they also keep the game for a few days longer for people to kind of polish off the activities. So basically this is where we are. Alright, so let us have a look. What have we got here? No, that's not quite so. We need to see... We need to see some of the side missions that were given to us earlier. So let me see. We need to read. Let me see. We need to read. Eliminate list of debtors. Well, let me just quickly have a look at the map. So what have we got there? Some stands. Okay, we need to go there to get the debt sorted. And this is what we are going to be doing. Oh, this is my horse, not. This is my horse. Okay. Yesterday I discovered that there are lots of side missions stashed there in our inventory, and therefore we'll do them one by one before we progress forward.
Think that's 'cause there's so many O'Driscolls about.
Howdy.
How's everything with you? Watch where you're going.
Move!
So this is all square. We are going to be looking for 4 characters who owe some money to Strauss, I think. And we'll try to get the money back. And yesterday we completed the bounty. There was this fraudster trying to sell some poison and telling people that the poison was indeed providing them with everlasting health and youth. Caught him, brought him to the sheriff, and earned $50.
Hey, partner!
Just a second, I actually want to see something. Story. Load a game. This is the one I want actually. Just double check if this is today or not. 1 second. Let me just try. No, that is not going to be it, so we are right. I just thought that perhaps yesterday we would have had something else, but I think that's probably what we have. Just a minute, I need to double check. I beg your pardon. The reason I'm double checking is very simple. I had a run on the game a few months ago, and I played 2 chapters, so I've been replaying the chapters, which means I was not really tackling all the ins and outs of side quests, but rather focusing on the campaign. And I've reached basically the same level that I would have managed to maintain a couple of months ago, and there is a discrepancy, I think, between the save that would have had in June and what I indeed did have yesterday, and I really need to find out whether we are doing the correct thing. I really don't want to be missing out on some of the content. So let me see story. Yeah, so that's registered, that's fine. So we are alright really, we haven't missed out on anything, and we'll go back here and carry on with our task. I apologize for this delay, but I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page and that my progression is fully saved, so we don't have to miss out on any of the content. So he's going to be nearby. Always use a minimap in order to define where your next destination is. It does take a bit of time to get used to initially, but then once you worked out how the cursors, pointers and your destinations work, you are going to have a lot of fun. Looks like he's here. Okay. So he is probably somewhere inside of this building. It's very nice and easy. You keep getting instructions all the time. And, you know, you can never go wrong, really. But remember, this is a vast game, so similar to Elder Scrolls, you will need to be a real collector and completionist to get everything and approach everyone. So I said earlier in my Tell Me Why broadcast, I particularly liked the section where you are collecting cigarette cards, and therefore through the examination of those postcards you're learning all about the history of the US, and that's terrific. But you've got to be diligent. No? Closed shop, there's no one in that. Plenty of that in our inventory.
Hello, boy.
Hello, boy. So where's the man in question? He must be either in the field or perhaps some in a barn. You see? What's cooking? Alpine goat. Wait a minute. Oh, they're probably cooking in a pan. Oh, that's ridiculous. I did not want to do that. Alpine goats, good. Yields a hide and grizzly mutton used in crafting and cooking, or can be sold. Use a repeater for clean kill. Well, we are definitely not going to be doing this here. And what we do want to do is we want to find the debtor. I thought he might be hiding, but we don't see anyone here. Classic oil cakes. Horse stimulant. This is a proper farm. Loads of animals present in here. No people. Something that, in fact, I would personally prefer at this moment in time. To remind you that I think Rainbow Six Siege is still available free of charge for a few more days. Ubisoft offered it for a week or 10 days, really, for everyone to try. A very popular multiplayer tactical shooter. We've played it here. Well, I'm a bit perturbed. He does not seem to be appearing anywhere. So let me double check the map. Where is he? There. Hiding behind a house, by the looks of it. Well, I didn't really go all the way up there. So let's see. He is doing some farming.
You, whatever do you want?
Mr. Thomas Downs? You owe me money.
Oh, no, I'm... I'm afraid your trip here has been in vain.
Oh, come here, you maggot.
Please, sir. I'll...
Really? Threaten me, would you?
Please, I have a family, sir. Please.
I don't care about your family. Why'd it have to come to this, huh?
Believe me, sir. I didn't want this either. If you want the money, you'll have to wait.
You ain't such a do-gooder, are you? If you're running out on debts...
I'm not running anywhere. I'm doing my best for you.
You are a slippery little bastard. But I got you now.
Please, please, show some compassion. Please. A little patience is all I require. Please, please, no.
You borrowed money from my business partner, Herr Strauss. You owe him, you took the money. He wants it back, what's not to understand? Where's our money?
I don't have it.
Sell your place.
We already owe more than it's worth.
Then sell your wife, or your family, or something. We ain't your idea of charity. Is that clear?
Thomas!
What are you looking at?
Thomas!
I said what you looking at, woman.
My husband isn't well. If we could just have more...
Like I said, we ain't nobody's idea of charity. Get us the money.
So he's gone back to report. Well, that's silly.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Starting to look like home.
It's taking shape.
Good work, Miss Grimshaw.
Strauss is down here, I think, isn't he? Oh, it's...
Found some cash in that O'Driscoll cabin, but not much else. A shotgun. And no coal? Not for now, no.
There's my boy.
Hey, Mama.
Ah, how did you get on?
Not so good. He's almost dead. And they seem more or less destitute. You were a fool for lending them the money.
Well, people who aren't desperate don't seem so interested in my propositions.
Of course.
Well, that's odd, because there were other people in there that should have been approached, and I need to see what other side. Oh yeah, that's completed already. Well, fair enough. List of deaths. Just a second. Number 3. See whether we have anyone else there on the map that will need to be chased. Curious to see. No, Robert Swanson is not the person we want to see. See all the way up. Okay, so we have Reverend Swanson. Oh, he's not in Valentine, he's in Strawberry. Okay. Okay. Black Bell. It's in the camp. So it looks like we probably have to be collecting. We'll have to be collecting money at some other time. And there's a companion who wants to talk to us. We've heard.
will you?
You're pathetic. You're a pathetic man, John Marston.
Don't I know it?
Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan.
Yes, Miss Grimshaw.
One of the girls saw that friend of yours, Mary Gillis, sniffing about.
Mary?
Yes. I never liked that woman, Mr. Morgan. Funny business.
Let me just see then very quickly where that other chap will be. We have 2 people in there. Also should overlook. Jose Matthews. Okay, let's see where he is. Should be somewhere there. Well, we have plenty of tasks. We can probably go and do some of these one by one.
Lenny,
And 5-finger fillet.
that knife's sharp enough, ain't it?
Depends. Why? You feel lucky?
Do you?
Oh, before me, at least 6 generations were born in chains. And for the last 3 years, I've been running from every lawman and bounty hunter west of the Lannahechee River. So yeah, I feel lucky. I'm the living embodiment of luck.
That is one way of seeing things.
But I'm also skilled. And in this game, you got to have luck and skill.
And stupidity.
The Outlaw's Trinity. Luck, skill, and just a dose of stupidity. Come on, you ain't too old and too slow just yet.
After you.
As you wish. You know, we should head back up that mountain sometime and make Jenny a proper grave. Something nice.
You liked her, didn't you, kid?
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, I liked her.
What do you care?
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Well, this is rather tricky. I don't want to be chancing it too much. What's happened to our friend that we need to speak to? Disappeared. Okay, I don't get it. So what if this is? This must be a glitch.
Jose,
You want to go hunting?
what are you hunting? An elephant?
I wish. No. I saw a huge bear. One of the biggest I ever saw. I reckon nearly 1,000 pounds.
My God. But you need me to come with you.
Of course. Let's go.
Where are we heading exactly?
Up near the Dakota River. Might take a day or two.
I could do with a break from this place.
Oh, me too. It's been a rough couple of weeks. You need anything?
I don't think so. I got all I need.
Let's go then. So you still ain't replaced Boadicea?
Nah, I miss her. She was quite a horse. This one's okay, but ain't no Boadicea.
I've been meaning to offload this big Shire horse for a while now. Unruly bastard.
Where'd you get him?
Some big, loudmouth bastard tried to rob me and was out riding, so I... Well, you know how it is.
I see.
Let's take him to Valentine. It's on the way, sorta. There's a decent dealer there. We'll unload him, you can buy yourself a new horse. Put your saddle on them, let's get going.
Okay. But I do kind of like this horse.
There's nothing wrong with 2 horses, and the stables always have the best ones.
Well, I guess you're right.
This is gonna be fun, Arthur.
You won't throw me?
No, he's an angel, if I'm near him.
Nasty little look in his eyes.
Oh, don't be rude about this magnificent creature. Come on, I promise you don't want to ride that one bareback. What's taking so long with this saddle? Put your saddle on him and let's go.
That's a bit odd. I thought that we could. No, it's not it. It's not it. No, it's this. Shire. This is a new horse that we've got.
Let's get this on right, boy.
Okay, see if you can get your leg over that brute.
Okay.
Don't be scared of him.
Easy, big feller.
All right, let's head into town. And maybe stay out of the saloon this time.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
We're heading out. Might be gone a couple of days. They got a good range of horse tack at the Valentine stables. Some beautiful saddles. I used to have a real nice one.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Got stolen outside that saloon in Deer Creek.
Ah, I remember now. Just about. That turned into a long day.
Yes. Remember? Mac went crazy, threatened to kill the whole town. And Davy was passed out so cold we left him there, came back in the next day, and he woke up, started right back drinking again.
I'll miss those boys.
Jenny, too. She had some spark, that girl.
It must be pretty hard on Lenny. You could tell he was sweet on her.
Well, Lenny and Jenny could never have worked. That's like Arthur and Martha, or Bill and Phil.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Does feel a bit like our luck died with them, too.
Nonsense. We'll be all right. Just need some money to get back on our feet.
I hope so. You found a way to offload those Cornwall bonds yet?
Not yet. They're still very hot. Need to be done right. I have a couple of leads I'm looking into. Hold! Don't let that big bastard get the better of you there, Arthur.
He's all right.
Why am I getting the red line? What's this? Don't want that waypoint, there's no need. Should have really rescinded.
Hills are just up ahead.
Saints Hotel.
Alright. Go sell that big brute. Buy yourself a horse.
Okay.
I'm going off to the general store. Get a few things to lure that bear out with. Meet you back here in a bit.
Hey, how can I help you? I'm in the market for a new horse. Something strong and fast. Yeah, well, you're in the right place. I got some beauties in at the moment. Yeah. And what about this one here? Yeah, you looking to sell?
Let's have a look.
Hey, sure, yeah. You got papers? No. No papers. Well, of course, that's gonna affect what I can pay. But your luck's in. I got a fella who's been looking for a decent workhorse like this for a while. He'll pay a good price. Otherwise, I can always stable him here for you. Here, take a look.
So this would be American Standard Bred Horse. Looking like the best value. What do we call him? We'll call him Alex. No, we won't call him Alex. We'll call him Stallion. Mohawk. Dreadlock even. Now we'll just have regular. Tail. Braids and dreadlock. No, that's a bit silly. Color. See.
Hey, howdy, sir.
I see.
All right, partner. You got yourself a deal. And a fine
Yep.
new horse. I hope so. Well, I don't sell anything other than good animals. You have my word on that. All right, let's see.
There are some really good horses in here.
Here are your papers. And on me, a new grooming brush and some treats.
Appreciate it.
All right, you treat this fellow well. I know he's gonna look after you just fine.
Not bad, Arthur. You happy?
I guess we'll see.
Hold.
Girl,
All right, let's get going. We got quite a ride ahead of us.
lead the way. So, what's this lake we're heading for?
It's called O'Creagh's Run, up in the mountains east of Cumberland Falls. I just hope I can remember how to get there.
Back into the mountains? I sure didn't figure on that.
But this time, we're doing the chasing. So how are things with you and John?
Fine.
Ain't it about time you let it go now?
It was a year, Hosea. He ditched us for a goddamn year.
I've spoken to him many times. He knows he did wrong. He just wants to put it behind him.
I'm sure he does. Running off on that kid is one thing, but there's code. He knows that. He ain't Trelawney. Dutch and you pretty much raised him.
I know. But it's done. Has been for a while now.
Nobody else would have been welcomed back that easy after that long. And you know it.
Maybe. But please don't you put that to the test.
I never would.
Yeah.
Hunting bears we are.
Okay. I think we need to head right up here. Yes, I remember this place. Moonstone Pond. We're going the right way. That's the lake there. Good. We made it. Let's loop around the other side.
Left button and right button. Okay.
Easy, girl. You're okay. Yeah, you're all right, girl.
So that should be enough. 1 carrot and a bit of stamina.
I should really be heading back over to Great Plains, see about Sean.
It's bounty hunters who've got him?
So Trelawney says. Javier and Charles have gone with him to scope it out.
Pretty dangerous going anywhere near Blackwater.
Right, but if he's alive, we gotta try.
Of course. Yeah! Look there. Rabbits. Maybe we should catch one to cook.
Sure. Try and shoot one.
You don't want to use anything too powerful on a small animal like that. Just ruin the meat. Best thing's a bow or a 22 caliber varmint rifle.
I have hunted rabbits before, you know.
Yes, and obliterated them with a shotgun if I remember right.
Yep.
In fact, I probably could use this bow.
Got one.
Don't see any rabbits anywhere in here. Okay, meat, rabbit pelts. Oh, we need to go back, so there's no meat, so hang on. There's something for me to pick up, right? I thought I
Good job.
picked them up earlier. Like,
All right,
it's
getting late. Reckon we should camp here.
Sure.
camp here, I agree.
Well, then you get us set up.
This would be quite good, wouldn't it? To camp here. Yeah, we'll need to be getting that bear, but not as yet. what do you need to do? I apologize. I don't know what's been happening in here. I had some problems with my controller. I actually was talking, excuse me, and it must be that for some reason the mute button must have been switched on. I've had a kind of a technical fault earlier, which was affecting my stream a bit, and also there's been a problem with my cable connecting my controller with the console, so hopefully everything is working. Can you just confirm that you can hear me right now? Can you hear me? Alright? Oh, you can hear me. Okay, that's fine. I was reading your messages and actually go through them yet again because you probably would have not heard. Have you heard anything I said until now, or was it just completely muted? I apologize. Very rarely something like this would happen, and I'm not sure what happened. So I'll go through the messages yet again. So bear with me, and thank you very much for writing and for joining us. It's been a while since we talked, so let's have a look at everything. And our friend says that there's been nothing coming out, so that's really annoying. These things happen sometimes, and it's so important that our community members obviously tell us straight away on what the score is if there is a technical problem. Most frequently what I hear is that the our community members that come in on our party sometimes are not heard, and then obviously we need to work very hard to resolve the issue straight away. So let me have a look. Our friend says, first of all, how have you been? And it's been a long time since we connected. Hope you're doing well. I said that indeed it's been a long while, and we are still suffering from the pandemic. We are not fully open out here in my local area, in the UK, and still very much under duress. But bit by bit, surviving it. And personally, I'm quite well. I'm healthy still, fortunately, and managed to keep myself away from contagion, and therefore spending a lot of my time indoors or in the local nature reserve, which is preventing me from having any kind of human contact with anyone, and that's been very soothing and very rewarding. But during the first 3 months of pandemic, I was literally quarantined for 3 months, so I've seen no daylight at all for 98 days, and I went out just literally in the middle of the night after 11 o'clock to get some fresh air, to stretch, and to have my kind of daily routine of exercise. I have to say that the lockdown was very heavily policed in my local area, so if people were to be walking at a time where in fact they shouldn't, they would have been stopped by the police and asked to go back home, etc. So I really adhere to the rules, and also want to make sure that I would not be at all in any form of danger or at risk during the first couple of months, because we were still finding out about the virus and what we had to be doing in order to prevent the contagion. So Paperclip says, I see you started up with the Red Dead Redemption 2 on this game, but only started the first couple of missions before putting it on my shelf so I can finish up a couple of other games. And I can certainly tell you the game is amazing, and I'm a bit disappointed with Xbox Game Pass and the fact that they decided to discontinue so quickly, because the game's not been on the Game Pass for too long, and I've had a kind of a first run on first 2 chapters about 8 weeks ago. I think it was at the beginning of June, and I thought that the game was going to stay here at least until Christmas, so I had it on top of my list. And unfortunately I got this email from Microsoft a few days ago saying, well, the game's going to be disappearing from Game Pass on the 7th of September. So I said, well, I have it, give it a good shot, and we'll do as much as we can really within a week. But considering how vast the game is, we are going to be obviously need to play it after that, and I'll need to purchase the game as well. And I don't have it either on PlayStation or Xbox, and it's been wonderful for the game to be here. But obviously the developer, Rockstar, they knew that anybody who was kind of starting out in this wonderful immersive Wild West world, they would then want to be buying the game, because you have to. Let me see. Yeah, our friend said, I finally got the platinum for Battlefront 2015, but I'm still chasing one of my last DLC trophies for the 100% completion. But that's a wonderful achievement, and I congratulate you on this. It's a wonderful game, and I've got them now on EA Play Access, or EA Access in fact. EA Play is on Xbox and Access is for the PC. So all the games that we do not get on other streaming services are there through Electronic Arts, and it's a very good service. You know, you can download Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Battlefield, Battlefront. You can do all sorts of things, and you will get all of those games. You know, they're on a monthly subscription fee. So really, the way the things are progressing, I'd say, is down the route of streaming services similar to what we had with Netflix and Amazon Prime Videos. And the gaming industry picked up, so the services as provided by either Sony or Microsoft are of very, very high quality. And I have to say, I actually personally consider Microsoft service to be somewhat superior. The quality is better. Excuse me. And also, you can download every single game to your console, which means all the games become streamable, and that's obviously to our advantage. And compared to PlayStation Now services, where lots of games are just streamable and cannot be downloaded, meaning that I can just play them and I cannot stream them, and that for myself is not particularly good. And also their servers for some of the games are not particularly fast, so you'll get a bit of choppiness and diluted type of imagery. On Microsoft service you do not get it at all. And I'm sure you're familiar with the new introduction of xCloud, which has been already accessible for anyone who is a Xbox insider, and therefore you can stream your favorite games through Android, both tablets and phones. And presently we are doing just a limited number of games, but in the future we'll be able to stream directly off the Microsoft server. And that service will be also available to the console, and that will make it easier for us to just check out the games that we're interested in rather than needing to download every one of them. And in fact, I had downloaded 57 games, and I have 57 games on the console presently, going through them bit by bit and really enjoying some of my personal discoveries. Nightcall is definitely a discovery. I watched a trailer a little while back when they were introducing the game, and it is just simply wonderful. Let's see what our friend says. I know the last time I was on, you were playing Destiny. I saw that you jumped over to Destiny 2 as well. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a massive, sprawling game. I was initially overwhelmed by the size and complexity of it. It's amazing how the horse is like a whole other character in this game. Yeah, in fact, you probably would have seen, I've purchased a new horse, and then I was doing the customization. Like, you can be customizing the horse with literally everything, inclusive of color, tail, and all the other equipment. It's just extraordinary. And you also can feed the horse, therefore, your horse is going to be a bit more powerful than the other guy's one, and you get all those niceties in your inventory, which you can use at any moment in time. And Paperclip says, I didn't hear anything. I understand technical issues, it happens to everyone. Pandemic is still hitting the US hard as well. Your volume just got very low. I can still hear you, but it is very low. Is it better now, do you think? Can you hear me better? Oh, no, that's something to do with the connection. I wasn't really doing anything at all. It was just all the same, exactly the same. But you never know really what's happening. Let me just take a seat. Yeah, that's right. So how are you, sir? How are you surviving and coping with the pandemic? It's been a long while since we talked, and like I said, I did play Destiny 1 and 2 here extensively, and the reason for that was quite simple. Those games were really kind of tied to the channel. They provided us with a backbone of kind of a sphere of interest for our community members, and we built our community on Destiny. Destiny 2 will be present on my channel a lot from the moment when it is accessible through Xbox Game Pass. And I got an email the day before yesterday indicating that the entire content of Destiny 2 is going to be accessible on the Game Pass, and I was pleased to discover that that will also include the new installments, the installment which is Beyond Light in November. So once released, all of us, the ultimate Xbox Game Pass subscribers, will get instant access, and perhaps even in advance, and that's phenomenal. It seems like Destiny has been placed on the same footing as Halo, and I think this is tremendous. They will have certainly a major increase of subscribers and participants, and I applaud Bungie and Microsoft obviously for doing the deal. And I've not been playing the recent season, and I really quite look forward to all that is to come with Beyond Light. On the other hand, I'm not encouraged by the news that half of the game will be sent to the Vault. I really feel that this is not particularly good as far as our community is concerned, because like with any other physical product game that we would have acquired, we really do not want to be losing content, and they said they will shelve half of it in order to liberate space for the new chapters to come in. But I'm very much in two minds about this, and lots of people rebelled and very unhappy when they've heard that the space had to be literally liberated and the content lost. And our friend says we are also having a quarantine out here in the US. A lot of our time is spent inside, and he says no in-person sports, although NBA, NHL and MLB had started up a couple of months ago. Well, you probably would have seen that in Europe some of the major football championships and competitions kicked off, but that's without an audience, so the stadiums are empty, and we are going to be watching our national teams and the premier kind of clubs playing football matches for some time in the future without anyone watching live. And it's quite uncanny, because I watched a couple of games like the Champions League final recently during the last couple of weeks, and I watched them on BT Sport, so you could see that the stadium was empty, yet the BT Sport were using the sounds of an audience with supporters screaming, shouting and bellowing and cheering and jeering and that sort of thing. It was really very odd seeing those terraces being completely empty and then hearing the noises that indeed were artificially induced. But certainly the best way, as obviously the scientific discoveries had told us, that when people are shouting or singing, then the contagion seems to be at its utmost peak. Not exactly sure why, but apparently the virus is spreading much faster, and it has a greater radius if people are raising their voices and singing, and therefore that's been seen as one of the most important thoughts and reasons behind the prevention of that sort of mass gathering. And our friend says so it's good to see some sports on TV, and he also says yes, Destiny is using what they call the Destiny Content Vault to remove several planets, quest lines and bunch of raids and strikes to make way for new content. Interesting approach, not sure it will be taken well or not, so time will tell. Well, initially they said it's going to be just a few bits and pieces that people perhaps did not play as much, i.e. the content that wasn't very popular, the year 1 Destiny 2 content. But then very quickly they just expanded on taking down the planets and all the activities there, inclusive of strikes and the Crucible. It just seemed a bit crazy. I mean, don't forget, as an online game, if you are, you're dependent on what the servers are providing you with, and I think people who invested a few £100, a few $100 in the game with the expansions and seasonal content, they'll be very unhappy. And you will recall that with Destiny 2 also replayability of the content was made more difficult compared to the original, and I personally was not happy with this, because any streamer or anybody who does things live will always want to revisit content, and then you can get your community members to join you, or if you're for instance running tutorials and training sessions, people want to learn, and that's been made very difficult. In fact, it's interesting because I used a cross save, and I've imported my data from PlayStation to Xbox, and it was all absolutely top notch. But then on Xbox, I started out, I think it was in Destiny 1, No, was Destiny 1? No, it was Destiny 2, I beg your pardon. Started out with a brand new character. No, I'm wrong. I had suddenly the opportunity to go through the same missions, the missions I've done in the past. And that's to do with the fact that the game was not installed on my Xbox previously, and although the character has gone through the motion of doing all the missions, still the option was given on the map. So this is what I also began with here on Xbox during some of my streams. And as I said, we are going to be back in full with Destiny 2, a big way, because really in Destiny 2 I only have one character, Warlock. I don't have the other two characters, so there'll be plenty of scope for me to be exploring it and expanding and doing all sorts of activities on my Hunter and Titan, and I really look forward to that. Also need to tell you that the quality of graphics on Xbox appear to be somewhat superior compared to the stuff on PS, and I was very pleased. The game seemed to be running smoothly, and it was done through a digital download. So both games on my PlayStation were of my physical product, which is of the disk drive, and that itself did turn out to be more advantageous for me when on Xbox platforms. So a lot more to look forward to. I think it's an exciting period ahead of us, from any perspective, and I'm really very glad to see that Destiny is going to be on Game Pass, because that is the way forward. That's the future. And Destiny, similar to this game and similar to Fallout 76 and Oblivion and Elder Scrolls Online, these are just absolutely overwhelmingly massive games, and I think they're the best place there. And I will be quite curious to see whether Bungie are considering some new means of monetization, so they'll offer the game for free or on a subscription fee, and they'll be selling something else within the game, because this also may well be a plan. If you're giving the content for free, I think you would have seen with I think Gears 5, there's quite a good model, and I have to say Gears 5 the game is fantastic. It had some really hiccups initially, but I found the game to be unbelievably good, one of the best multiplayers and kind of games with death matches that we could access. And also you play it on the Ultimate Edition, so it's really absolutely top notch. And Paperclip says Destiny is on new ground in removing a significant amount of content that consumers have purchased. I think if the new content is received well, and there is a significant amount of content, it may be softening the blow. Possibly, but I did have some emails and comments coming from veterans, people who played Destiny from 2013, and they were absolutely outraged. In my opinion, they probably could allocate separate servers for the old content, and then the separate servers should be able to provide you this access, and maybe with some digital code or any other means through which you can get to it. But extracting the content, think anyone who purchased Halo could have been told then, well, this section is not particularly popular, we'll just remove it. And people pay the money for that. They actually gone to these missions, they collected the achievements and trophies, and space, the storage space is likely to be a problem for the industry overall, because just like any space, it's not limitless. And considering how much content we are placing on these servers, sooner or later they'll come to an end, unless we find some other means to which the files could be compressed or resized. And I think the biggest problem at the moment in the industry is with Call of Duty Warzone. Not sure whether you played the game, but the latest update and the game overall that comprises the Modern Warfare together with Warzone, I think it's bigger than 200 gigabytes. It's about 250 gigs, and so there's a serious problem, for people who are owners of Xbox consoles or indeed PlayStation with 250 gigs. Well, they can barely fit in one game onto the console unless they obviously purchased an external SD drive. So I understand the concern, but I don't really think that this is the primary concern. I think they had some issues around monetization, and that's been certainly of concern to the community members, because you will recall before Shadowkeep went out, they said they will completely change their Cerberus's shop, and therefore whatever you're doing there you'll be able to do through in-game currency, and you will not need to spend any dollars on anything else. But that's not really happened, and that really has not been very popular. People got very, very annoyed, and I actually had, you probably would have seen them live on air, some European gamers who were absolutely categoric that because of what Activision in particular did initially with the sequel, they will never ever purchase any extra content, and they will never play Destiny 2. I think it's a stance taken too drastically. I don't really agree with it. I think it is too extreme. But I also certainly feel that Destiny 2 had progressed down the correct route, because initially during year 1 we were sort of lacking content, and the story wasn't gelling. There were many problems in there. But then the year 2 provided us with too much to do, really. The abundance of all the missions and quests was mind-boggling, and I found it really difficult to complete even 1/4 of it. And then the year 3 they kind of tried to sort of again resize a bit, because they thought the entire year with so much content was overwhelming, and they really didn't find their feet as yet with the kind of fully fledged new direction. Sadly, they were hit also by the pandemic like everyone else, and the workforce and the projects were equally affected, and that has to be really placed within that context. But in terms of the model, they are the leaders. They have this ever-evolving magnificent Destiny universe, i.e. the ever-growing world. Whether this is going to be having an eternal shelf life is fast to see. I don't think it will. I think it is something that will be very popular for a very long period of time, but just like anyone else, people like trying out different games. The idea, you have one world and different styles of gaming are present within it, so whatever style of gaming you have, it's all going to be there. So think PvP, the joint enterprise of PvP and PvE, like Gambit obviously in Destiny, then PvP with the Crucible, then all of these campaign missions, then all the quests and battle royale style activities. Still, people want to try Apex and PUBG and Warzone and all the other, what was the other game? Overwatch I played recently. So they need to be providing high quality content, and if there's one concern that you will see arising from the followers of The Division, Fallout, of Destiny, is they feel that the new content is inconsistent. They'll have to really consider whether they can work within a format of lengthy television series, like Homeland or X-Files, and then keep up with the quality content that really keeps everyone fully gripped. I don't know. It's still new and people are impatient. I believe we need to allow them a lot more time, and personally I'm really amazed with how everything has developed, and because I've played lots of these massive games, compare that with 10-12 years ago, it's extraordinary. Even if you're looking at Elder Scrolls Online today, compare them with, let's say, Oblivion, and then with Skyrim, the games which were considered at the time to be probably the biggest ever made, you can see this degree of evolution. And like Fallout 76, Destiny 2, like this game, they have this incredible open world. You can spend so much time in there and you will never be bored. You can always walk around, explore the space and find all the other nice items and things which you previously missed when you went through the wild. And I find it to be so atmospheric, so beautiful and so wonderful. But still, whether everyone will want to stay within just one game is certainly a subject for an academic discussion. And Paperclip says, I don't own an Xbox as I've been a PlayStation consumer my whole life since PS1, but I know Xbox is doing some great things with Game Pass and adding new first-party developers that will have their games available day one on Game Pass. Game Pass is the best subscription value out of all subscription out of there, and separate servers for the older Destiny 2 content is a great idea. I do think removing the amount of content that they are is probably going to be received negatively, no matter how good the new content is received. Our friend says also, I purchased Shadowkeep last September, but I didn't play it very much as I got into finishing a couple of games that I've been working on getting all of the trophies. Can you tell me what the games are? I'm really quite curious. I'm curious to hear what games you played overall, and particularly the ones where you acquired all the platinum trophies. It's very difficult to get some of them. We've had Captain Jack here a little while back, and he was trying to get platinum on both Destiny 1 and 2, and he said it was very, very difficult because of those lengthy grinds. Battlefield and Battlefront, I think they're very similar in that respect. It takes a long while to collect everything and complete every single task. I'm trying to think whether I ever had anything platinum, and I don't think I did. It's to do with the fact that I like lots of different games, and you know, a massive game like this one will take up a lot of time and space, and if you want to pick up every single item, and like enjoying all the other games, and literally for the last 3 or 4 years I've had probably the best gaming experience of my whole life because of those streaming services. Previously I've had to buy games and try them. Today I can pay that subscription. It cost me actually less than £20 a month, like £15 a month for the Ultimate on Xbox and PlayStation Now services combined. So I think £15 a month, and you have access to more than 1,000 games. In fact, I joined extra 50 now with EA Play, and it's just mind-boggling. There's just simply isn't enough time for everything. But you know, I'm a kind of gamer who likes consistency. So when I start out on a game, I'll play the campaigns from the beginning to the end, irrespective of the trophies and achievements. It's just that I want to get through it, get to know the story, get to know, and get a good feeling of the overall experience. And I must admit, there's so many good games I really didn't have. Well, when you stream on PS Now, you can really see if some game is not appealing to you, therefore you will not continue. But at least it's not really particularly hard on our budget, because we can simply pay that subscription fee, a bit like watching Netflix and Amazon Prime, and that's just fantastic. And I'm really amazed with the overall access to media. So many different films you can easily access. To be frank, one has to have at least 3 to 4 providers. In America, you would need to have the providers like Netflix, like Amazon Prime Videos, and then maybe Criterion Collection and TCM, if you're interested in archive the older films. And then when you have all of this together, it's just literally like living in paradise. And I've got BFI streaming service, as well as Amazon Prime and the Netflix as well. So comprised with YouTube and some other outlets on the internet which provide services free of charge. It is incredible. I mean, that's like literally thousands and thousands of films instantly accessible. And for somebody who's been watching films literally throughout my whole life, and for the vast majority of that period, we always had a difficulty in accessing older prints, older films, and the prints were quite poor. Today that's just been completely eradicated, and I think it's going to define the way film history and television history is being seen and understood by the members of the younger generations, because they have instant access. You go to the BFI library and all the desks are always occupied. It's quite a big library. I mean, there are lots of research desks allocated for every single person who wants to use it, but everyone is just ordering the material that they'll do their research on, and then they have their laptop and they can connect to BFI service or go to MediaTek and mop some of the material they've been just reading on. And I remember years back, reading films in review or film comments, and there was absolutely no way I could access some of the prints. It's just not possible. So there have been some remarkable improvements. Our friend says, I purchased Shadowkeep last September, but I didn't play it very much as I got into finishing a couple of games that I've been working on getting all the trophies. I'm definitely driven by trophies to a large extent, but not to a detriment. I had to walk away from some trophies as they would take too long and would net very little fun in the process. Yeah, I've heard of some of these games, and some of the trophies could be very, very tricky. Is it Warframe? I think Captain Jack told me Warframe was a very, very grindy game if one must be collecting achievements and trophies. It depends on the game. I think Mass Effect is a wonderful, fantastic trilogy, but some of the achievements are very hard to get. So, you know, I think I agree with you. I think if I'm looking at what would motivate me to be replaying certain sections of Mass Effect, then it almost certainly would be to get these kinds of achievements, because Mass Effect does not have the open world, which is as exploratory and with additional new content introduced like Destiny or Fallout 76. But depending on your choices, you will be getting different subplots and different outcomes, so it does have that degree of replayability, which at the time, 10, 15 years, 12 years ago, was considered to be revolutionary. But being motivated by trophies is obviously there, and you will find that some people who are doing FPS, Battle Royale, tactical shooters, they will be very much kind of warmed up on their own collection of trophies because of the tasks that are required, and some of those are really tricky, I've got to say. And that's I guess one of the areas to which many players, people who are into FPS and tactical shooters, could be kept warm over a very, very long period of time. You know, I think Warzone could have many new weaponries and bits of kit introduced, and therefore you can throw in new achievements, new trophies, and people can just carry on playing. Younger gamers are very hot on cosmetics, you know, so they'll work very hard to get certain outfits, and I think the outfits are particularly good for the social side of things, where you kind of find new gamers to play the game with and get some people on board, get them for your raids and co-op activity. Because when you notice somebody wearing a funky outfit, you know, you want to get to know them, you want to ask them questions. So the social spaces in Destiny and the other games are very, very good for that. Yeah, I mean, Shadowkeep is a bit grindy. It does have a lot of seasonal content, and I find that the seasonal content, certainly during the last year, from let's say last September until today, has been quite repetitive. They had Solstice of Heroes every now and then there was Iron Banner, and I've done this quite a few times, you know, with our guys here. It was really good fun, but once you've done them several times, well, you know what they're about. And there was there were some comments given to Bungie from the community that, particularly in the recent times, some of the some of the things on offer were repetitive, but I understand it. If they work really with half of the workforce and people work from home, it's just completely unrealistic to be expecting for us to be receiving the content that's equivalent to the year 2, you know, where they work 365 days without any breaks, and they gave us everything. It was unbelievable. It's probably the busiest selection of 3 seasons I've ever seen in any video game, and still have to work on many of those quests and tasks, still sitting in my in my inventory, and we'll do them in due course. And our friend says Battlefront 1, that's 2015. Then Hitman Absolution, Life is Strange 2, Fall Guys, new game I started playing with my 2 young daughters, and The Division 2. Well, some of them are really massive games, you know, like really vast, and The Division 2 in particular did have a very, very good DLC recently, and it's been very well received. So there's a lot to do in there. If you're collecting trophies, it's going to take a long while. And in fact, I purchased recently Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the game that really backfired massively, and I was really surprised. I've done beta and alpha, and I played it initially when it got released, and I loved the game. You know, I thought it was really improving everything we've seen in the original Ghost Recon Breakpoint. People hated it. They didn't like the fact there weren't any AI squad members, and that was like a big avalanche of complaints. They didn't like the story. They find it to be too difficult to follow because of similar to Destiny, it's non-linear. It depends on how you're picking up, different kinds of quests, and they had all these complaints, and I personally feel they're completely unjustified. I really think the game is incredible, and also with that cam, got like a full body cam where you can become completely invisible if the other ghosts are chasing you, the enemy ghosts, is fantastic. And I loved the game, enjoyed it, and it actually worked to my advantage. The game was being sold between 45 and £90, and then recently, as they introduced the AI members, it was a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, they offered the game on a price of £10.99. I mean, from what, £50-60 to £10.99, and it's a fairly recent game. So obviously I snapped it up straight away and played it a bit, not as much as I wanted, because it's a game that requires a full dedication. But the Division 2 is exactly the same, and I played it a lot, and I streamed it here. Both the Division 1 and well, actually, do you know that the Division 1 is now offered for free? I don't know whether you've got the game, but it is offered for free, and this month on Xbox we are getting it as part of the gold package. But I've seen some adverts indicating that you can download it for free for your PC. So if you're interested, definitely double check. Just go to Ubisoft, the Division page, and get all the options. And that's terrific. I mean, I have to say, having that game, which is also very big, given for free on the Games with Gold is tremendous, and I applaud Ubisoft for doing this. They have a lot planned for the sequel, and they're really looking at the sequel being like Destiny 2, a massive big world which is constantly evolving. So it's one of those things. And just to elaborate, Life is Strange is a wonderful game, and the one I'm streaming at the moment, Tell Me Why, is the game from the same developer, and they focus on a character who is transgender, and they're going back to their kind of childhood, the past, in order to discover what terrible incidents would have taken place and affected them both. It's really wonderful. It's very, very similar in storytelling and the overall aura, both in narrative and atmosphere, to Life is Strange, which is a wonderful game. It's one of the most popular adventure games of recent years. So if you have a chance, definitely have a well, you obviously, like you said, you're on PlayStation, and this is proprietary to presently it's proprietary to Microsoft. I think they'll expand it, of course. Expand. It's just they said that with the new console coming out, they'll be looking at very few exclusives, and those will be probably the exclusives given to the members through Microsoft Studios. The developers that they already had been brought under the umbrella. That's going to be fewer titles. They'll be looking at various other things like cross-platform and liaison with other companies and all sorts. So definitely a very, very good game. And I've heard about Fall Guys, and I watched some clips, but I've not tried it, so I'm not really fully familiar. And our friend says, I enjoy these storyline games and I take my time going through them. Well, I could certainly tell you that the games like The Division and Ghost Recon, they have a very good story, but I think a new gamer will need to learn how to play the entire content. So it's quite tricky, because if you are looking at all side missions, sub-quests, all the tasks given to you from everywhere, it will be very difficult to follow the campaign. So I think one of the systems is by doing the campaign first and then catching up with side quests, or doing one major campaign mission and then completing all the side quests that are attached to it. Sometimes it's not easy to figure what types of games there would be, what side quests would be attached to a particular section of the game just by playing it and doing it, and therefore it's useful to look it up on the net, and therefore one wouldn't really lose the sight of the rest of the content. I think the danger is with some of the games, if you're skipping side quests, then you're missing out on a content that will be also aligned with the actual campaign, and Fallout is one of those games where it's very important to do everything. And I think the game that probably has more of that than any other is Anthem, because I've read lots of reviews written initially that the game was too short. They said we finished the main campaign in about 14 to 15 hours, and the reason for that is they were doing a speed run. Once going back to Fort Tarsis, they did not talk to anyone. They talked just to one main character, and every time you go back to Fort Tarsis, which is the base, like the tower in Destiny, you have an option where you can talk to at least half dozen characters, and every time you talk to half dozen characters, each one of them will give you extra missions, right? So quite frankly, I spent 140 hours doing just the campaign. So the guys doing the reviews were basically dishing out stories that are completely irrelevant. So my point was, with some of the games, one has to be careful whether to skip certain content if focusing just on a story, because the rest of it may well be then absent. Depends on the actual game, depends on the developer. And some games are delivered in a more linear format, and they will have a kind of selection between the kind of campaign storytelling and then the side quests. And then with others, if you progress and you do not do side quests, you actually lose the opportunity of doing them all together, and you may not be gathering much inventory or kind of skill tree points, as it is the case in Ghost Recon. So it very much depends. And our friend says, as an example, Hitman Absolution is taking me a very long time to complete, 79% completed, because I'm going through the game completing all of the in-game challenges, which total about 256. These challenges include completing the game on both a casual, normal difficulty, as well as a professional difficulty, hard, expert and purist. That's really tricky, because with the games like Gears of War and I'm trying to think, the games that have that kind of insanity level difficulty, you will have a problem unless you are completing it literally the entire game on all the difficulties in order to get that platinum trophy. So it can be definitely of concern, but Hitman is a wonderful game, and really it's very similar to some of my favorite games that are played stealthily. You play Splinter Cell, or you play A Plague Tale, a recent game, where everything is about the avoidance of the enemy, and you get into the arena of Warzone or PUBG, where in fact stealth is the most important part of the game, and lots of guys are in there in order to kind of collect the scores early, and the teams that succeed play stealthily, but they get very aggressive towards the very end. So Hitman, absolutely one of the best games ever as far as this stealth is concerned. And also on Hitman Absolution, some of the challenges require silent takedowns throughout the entire mission. Some require specific target eliminations. You can take out a target. Just bear with me, I need to bring in my display because getting some pains in my back. You can take out a target in a given mission a dozen or so times, so I'm replaying the game 60 to 70 times before I complete everything I need to complete for each mission, so it's taking me a long time to get through, which I'm okay with. No rush, it's all about entertainment. I think it's a perfect example of a game that requires consistency, dedication and a systematic approach, in order to collect things. I found that for some of the games I had to be keeping notes because I couldn't remember all the characters or many of the tasks or anything else that was coming together all at once. But I think in recent times I grew as a gamer, because there are so many these vast open world adventure games where the system is, I guess, aligned to a degree. But if it comes to lengthy grinds, there isn't any other way out. You've got to grind it in order to get everything that's necessary. And Destiny 2 is a lengthy grind. There are lots of our community members who are kind of both loving it and hating it at the same time because of those lengthy grinds. I know Sekapupu likes trying out different weapons. He's our community member from Finland, and he was trying to get some of those in the Crucible, but some are very difficult to achieve. Using certain snipers, in a deathmatch, whether you can get as many as necessary, the kills and the numbers, it does take a little while. And also it is very much based on the internet speed. But the bottom line is entertainment, and I talked the other day to some community members where in fact I feel the degree of immersion, the degree of engagement with this open world that we are given is critical, because you are an active participant, you're exploring everything in there, and that can give you a lot of entertainment. I don't like the games that are providing me with a lot of frustration, and you will have a game that wants to cut corners by offering you an unbelievably difficult puzzle out of the blue, or in some of the games I've seen, lockpicks, or any other kind of activities that are very, very hard to crack. If you have a very good smooth running story, that really ruins it. And there are some games I've come across that have this, and in fact I played Kingdom Come Deliverance recently, and there were loads of complaints on Reddit in respect of its lockpick system. But people who were using lockpicks in that game were playing the characters rogue, constantly stealing, and the developer didn't want the character to be a thief, because he is a commoner who becomes a nobleman, and who becomes a knight who's defending the kingdom. So if he keeps stealing all the time, then he's not going to be a very good nobleman, and he probably will miss out on the quests and everything else that he would need to get towards the end of the game. So there was some logic behind it, but there was an avalanche of complaints. I can't really crack this lockpick on console because the controller, and it's quite true, it's almost impossible to do it on the controllers compared to what you do if you were playing game on your PC. But there was a kind of a reason behind it. But I can think of certain games that are really frustrating, where a completely perfect, highly entertaining, enjoyable gameplay is being ruined by something that is completely perplexing and without any logic in it. You need to be resolving puzzles. You have got to be able to find a clue to the puzzle, and where is the clue? If there isn't a clue, then you can just look it up on Google, but that's not the same thing, is it? And Pepsi says, interesting take on Anthem. I recognize they had a tough launch, but the game looks fun, and I know they made improvements and quality of life changes since launch. I also heard that Anthem is being reimagined, and a new Anthem game will be released in the future. It could be called Anthem Next. Or yes, that's correct. They have a team, albeit downsized compared to the original team, because Anthem was their major project. It was similar to Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and they had the entire team working on the game. Quite frankly, I played the game right from the beginning, and I've not gone through the entire game until half a year ago, because I was waiting for all the technical issues to be fully resolved, and indeed they were resolved. It did take them a long while. The biggest problems with the launch was the game engine. They bought that Frostbite engine from a Swedish developer, and they used it as their own proprietary engine, whilst in fact it was not created by them. So lots of problems, particularly when it came to the multiplayer sections. Well, the game is a multiplayer, so when you have alphas and betas testing the game, the vast majority, there's an unbelievable number of people coming in. It's millions and millions from worldwide doing and trying the game. Nothing worked. You had rubber banding all the time. You had game crashing consistently, and you've had problems with inventory, problems with loot. You would go through a mission, the game would crash, nothing would register. It was unbelievably poor. Honestly, I played lots of games, but that was the worst launch I have ever had in my lifetime, and they were trying their very best to resolve it, but problems just amalgamated and they went from bad to worse. That was not to do at all with the actual game content. It was all technical. The game content was as good, as amazing, as exciting as you would have had it in Mass Effect and in Dragon Age. Right? So when I played beta, I thought it was funny that we didn't have much option on what line of dialogue we are pursuing. You'll remember with Mass Effect you had like 5 different sub-questions, and you would be either polite and noble, or you would be quite aggressive and arrogant. So there was like 2 different lines of questioning that you could have pursued. They simplified, but yet you did have the essence of either of those 2 fully embedded within the type of questioning that was on offer. And the dialogue in Anthem with some of the characters was fairly lengthy, which was also noted as, by some of the gamers who were sort of quite critical of this. But you had a lot of content that was tied in with the story and giving you a perfect explanation as to why things were happening. So unlike in Destiny, where even today you feel the story is quite fractured and it's not easy to find out who did what, and perhaps it's not even very important, you'll just need to know the overall outlook of the Destiny universe to be able to play. In Anthem, like in other BioWare games, you know exactly what's happening at what time. It's perfect, it's beautifully construed, beautifully told. As I said, it does take time, patience and diligence. You've got to talk to every one of the characters. Sometimes on the map, due to these technical issues, they don't pop up immediately, but you need to be a bit more resourceful. You need to be exploring various areas to find those characters and talk to them. And the story is told in a beautiful linear fashion, where you can have lots of side missions, but you always know exactly what's happening within the story. Everyone will tell you, battle sequences, the enemies, the monsters, the bosses, they're phenomenally well designed. They look incredible, and everybody loved those. They just felt that these sections were disjointed, and perhaps if it came to so-called raids, in Anthem they're called cataclysms, they didn't have many enough of those right from the beginning. Basically, the game was launched too early. They should have spent extra 2 years on it, and developed other things. So obviously they didn't want to ditch the game. They carried on with the work, and they had sizable sales initially, but the game didn't take off due to that bad publicity and the technical issues. Logging in was another issue right from the beginning. So I waited, and if there are some problems that are still persisting, if you were to buy the game, I can certainly tell you. One of the problems is fairly lengthy loading screens. During the launch, they were infinite. You would wait for 25 minutes for the game to load, and then it would crash. But in this instance, you're talking about anything between 30 seconds and a couple of minutes, right? But the game loads properly. I didn't have a single game crash or any kind of glitch during that process, and I spent 140 hours on the main campaign. I completed all the side missions. I completed everything that was there to be looked at, right? So therefore I stretched the game to that many hours. They are rebuilding it. They are changing the way the game is told, the story is told, and they're also bringing in some new characters, and the overall structure of the game is going to be considerably different. So we need to wait and see. I'm not sure whether you watched Gamescom presentations during the last weekend, but it was delightful to see Casey Hudson and his team from BioWare talk about their next big project, and that's the Dragon Age number 4. They've not given anything away, but we've seen some storyboards and some concept art, and we've heard all the team members talk about how they work and what they do, and what the idea behind the project is, and that was terrific. But you did have the music of Anthem played literally throughout, right? So that tells you something. They're talking about one of the biggest games ever created, Dragon Age, but they're using the music from Anthem in order to keep up both with the interest and with the work on that game that will be almost certainly re-released. I think it was maybe a project that appeared to be too big for them. They've never had a major multiplayer that was based entirely on their online activity, and it backfired. Because if you wanted to be doing a team right from the beginning with 4 members, I could assure you, in the first 6 months, irrespective of the platform, you're just crashing all the time. And you know the way it is with these kinds of games. It's not really competitive multiplayer, but people the layout for your achievements in that game is second to none. it's fantastic. You have 4 characters on display, and then you have like a toolbar that's telling you how far you got. You get all kinds of medals, and it's beautiful. I mean, really, the graphic design work on Anthem is the best that BioWare have ever had. But the technical issues, they were really causing that major headache, and that is basically what concerned everyone. But I really want to make a distinction in our kind of discussion today between the technical issues, which were indeed very great, and them being sort of seen as a very highly intoxicating factor towards the content, because many reviewers were rubbishing the content, comparing it to all the other games of BioWare, indicating it was very slim, very flimsy, which is definitely not the case. It's a very big game with lots of things to do. But like in Mass Effect, if you spent 500 hours in the game, you really would have been looking at every single character. You talk to every single creature. You would explore every line of inquiry and complete all the main campaign quests as well as the side missions, and then you would be there. Skipping the side missions, you lose out on more than 50% of content in Mass Effect, because like the universe, the side missions are connected to some character who otherwise you will not be able to talk to. You see him seated, and then he's not talking to you at all, right? If you've done that side quest, you come back there, you talk to him, he opens up another quest. And that is what I find perhaps the most delightful in the games of this size. That is what I like the best. And our friend says, hopefully the reimagined Anthem will correct the shortfalls that the first one had. Technically there may be issues, because really, quite frankly, they should have redone the game from scratch on a different game engine, and they should have had a game engine that was theirs. Because if you have your own game engine, you created it, you will know exactly what to do, how to provide maintenance. That really was causing them many difficulties, and I'm quite certain that they will not be using Frostbite much for the future games. But sad, really. You remember all the presentations and developer diaries and all they did at E3 and various other conventions, and then it went south, and my heart sank, because lots of people were using the pretext of technical difficulties in order to attack the company, and together with Bungie and Bethesda, Rockstar, these are some of the greatest, biggest heavyweights that we have in industry, and certainly companies that produced very high quality of work over many years with many formidable games, and everybody was latching onto Mass Effect Andromeda. This is just a continuation. It's lack of direction, they're not imaginative anymore, and it's all about the money and all kinds of nonsensical ideas. Like, where was this whole idea that this is all about the money? I don't get it. I mean, what was in there to monetize if the game was simply imploding due to the technical issues? It's just ridiculous. And people are very impatient, and the way it is. It's a kind of a critical avalanche by Twitter. You get hashtags rubbishing something, and you get lots of people jumping in, doing the same sort of negativity, and have not even looked at the case in question. They've not even played the game. They keep coming with those excuses. In fact, I read a couple of reviews where they were very negative about beta, and they complained about the lack of content. Why is it that I didn't get Cataclysm? Why weren't there any open world events? And that it was clear that the guy was doing speed running, and contrary to what was advised by the I've had the podcast on all the time. They're advising every half hour for the guys who want to be getting extra content on Sunday to play it on the hard difficulty level, because in Anthem you have 6 difficulty levels, and if I'm not mistaken, there's the 7th one. There's another one which you unlock once you complete all the other ones. They said if you want to get 6 open world events, which were like a Cataclysm, right, but some of the major bosses, you have got to be doing it on the hard difficulty level. And this guy just did it quickly as a single player, and they asked everyone to do it as a multiplayer with at least 2 or 3 people doing it together, and that would have then unlocked the content. Do you see what I mean? You would unlock the content if you've done it on the hard difficulty level, and in addition to that, you would have had it done together with other teammates, 3 or 4, whatever, and then you unlock the content. If you did it by yourself and you've gone through easy, you wouldn't have unlocked the content. He wrote a review for one of the prestigious gaming magazines indicating that this was just a waste of time, and obviously anyone who went to the game would know that he was just completely he was fraud, talked about things that were irrelevant. Anthem definitely needed another 2 to 3 years before release. That is a perfect example of what happens when you launch a game before it's ready. Game delays are never fun to hear about, but I know I would rather have the game completed to the best of the developer's ability than launch a buggy mess and improve it through patches. Well, I think you have a perfect example evolving before us right now, and it's caused quite a stir in the community, and that's to do with Halo. Halo Infinite was to be released together with the new console. That's Xbox Project X, and it was already announced and advertised to a certain degree, although maybe a bit covertly compared to the usual, so which people were hoping and anticipating that the new console, Xbox Project X, would indeed have Halo attached to it, so you get special editions, the consoles which are painted in colors of the game, and that's been the case. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that no, I'm quite wrong. What happened initially with the Microsoft Xbox original console was that it was tied to Halo Combat Evolved, but otherwise they didn't have that kind of proprietary launch of a console. So that would have been 360 or Xbox One, that would have been tied to Halo, right? So it was just for the first lot, and they wanted to do that this time around, so that's almost 20 years later, 18 years later. The developer 343 said the game's not ready, and we've done everything possible, but the pandemic and all the other issues had affected us, and we want the game to be absolutely polished. We want it to be amazing, because it does have elements of Halo which are very similar and repetitive. You put the very best of Halo that we are used to in all the other installments, and they basically took the risk, because telling the world that you are going to be discontinuing with the release date and you'll have it launched a year later means a massive drop on your shares. The investors were just like, absolutely, withdraw the money straight away. But just like you said, this is the best way of doing it, because they know Anthem went to pits because of its own premature launch. They don't want their game to go down this route, particularly in view of the fact that they are the second developer, I believe, on the game, because originally Bungie were doing Halo, and so it's a good course of action. So everyone's a bit frosty, and people who are your hardcore Xbox fans are very angry on the day and during the first kind of 48 hours. But when you watched all the other podcasts and video diaries and responses on the net, everybody said, well, we'd much prefer to wait for another year than to get a buggy game that's causing us lots and lots of different problems. And don't forget, the other issue there might be they want to see how the games are going to be performing through the new selection of services that Xbox is offering. They will be comprising xCloud services together with the new console and the Xbox Game Pass. So these are very important considerations. It is one thing that will be of concern, and I'm not sure whether you spotted it, through various online hubs, and that is all to do with the internet speed. They want xCloud to be instantly accessible on tablets and phones, but you will know that if, for instance, you're using Wi-Fi, you will be seriously restricted, particularly if your Wi-Fi network, your home network, is obviously connected to other devices at home. Half dozen members using Wi-Fi wanting to do their games on various devices. It will be very difficult to play PvP. I mean, evidently there are lots of games out there that are not PvP, adventure games such as Life is Strange, Tell Me Why, or the one I played last night, Man of Medan. They will be fully, perfectly playable. So the service may not work perfectly for some of the most popular games, if you know what I mean, the ones that require the fastest speeds and the fastest tech. So therefore, taking a kind of a step back and waiting for another year to see how everything will evolve is very, very wise. Irrespective of the trouble with the possible drop in shares and finance and everything else. We all want to see the game that is fully functional and that works perfectly. And don't forget, Halo's been around for many years, 18 years in total, and obviously any new installment will have to have something very new and very interesting and innovative, in addition to the usual content that we have in every one of those games. And the community's been around for 20 odd years, so people also will be dedicated to Halo and Destiny, because the vast majority of the original Destiny gamers were really migrating from Halo universe, and evidently they've got to be careful, and I think it's just well and proper. I agree with this. Even if, for instance, Microsoft delayed the launch of the new console, I would be absolutely and fully agreeable with this, because I feel that it may be fully justified and necessary. Why launch a console that will have to be returned back because something is not working properly? You remember when they released the Xbox One that had a problem with the disk drive, which was, for whatever reason, a bit smaller to what it should be, and therefore when you were loading your DVDs and Blu-rays, the disk drive wouldn't read them, so they had a major return of those consoles, that particular model, and they sustained a very, very considerable loss. Sadly so. Bear with me, I'm getting some messages just to see what these are. Right, let me see what are the messages we have here. Our friend says patches are meant to fix small minor issues or balance changes that couldn't be identified prior to millions of people playing the game. Patches are not designed to fix a broken game from the core of the gameplay. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I mean, you will recall when they released Fallout 76, the game was released a bit early, and there were some issues initially. But they worked day and night, and with some patches they resolved those issues. You'll recall that they had characters that were appearing to be in the nude, once they should have been fully clothed. It was just one of the glitches, one of the things that are happening there. But the teams, like 300 odd teams of BioWare or Bungie, they will have both the means and resources to test the game until they're literally blue in the face to know exactly what the game is going to be performing or not. But the biggest problem in the video game industry is to do with shareholding and the investments. It's a huge risk. The games will require at least 3 years, if you're talking about these blockbusters, to be fully developed. And then there's a lot of cash and investment going into the companies when in fact they don't have a guaranteed return. And that causes lots of issues. Everyone in a perfect world would want to have all the, everything meeting a certain deadline, but that's not always the best, and specifically not if you're looking at evolving technology. I mean, can you expect everything to work remarkably well and without any glitches on the new PS5 and Xbox Project X consoles? Well, possibly, but there are likely to be some issues with certain services, because these are, the services that Xbox is introducing have never been seen to man before in history, and that is, if there are difficulties, people have to be patient. The speed, the internet speed, will be of essence, I'm telling you, as well as the storage space, and there will be issues attached to it. If you want to play the games of that sort of phenomenal quality on the graphics front, there will have to be more space within the console or on the external drives, and there will have to be for the PvP the fastest possible internet speed. And obviously, being British and being in the UK, I can tell you that our country is lagging behind that massively. We were last year number 36 on the global scale in terms of the internet speeds, because we did not really update our infrastructure once the fiber was introduced. And in my local area, they do not want to provide me with fiber. I even had a discussion the other day, and it was a fiery exchange, where in fact they keep telling me the same story. Like for 4 years, I keep calling her every month, asking for the fiber to be connected to the property. They don't want to do it. It's just because it costs them, and it doesn't cost them a lot to be connecting cabling from a street exchange to our local properties, and they don't want to do it. And therefore, everyone who is on fast broadband will have some issues if they want to be entering the world of streaming and competing in PvP, on the new consoles and the new gadgets. They will not be able to do it. They'll have some experience, but it's going to be, marred with all sorts of troubles. A friend says, it's interesting to see Xbox's approach and how different it is against PlayStation next generation. Xbox is all about inclusion and have access to all games on many platforms. PlayStation is about exclusivity and doubling down on both first-party games as well as on second-party exclusives, third-party exclusives, time exclusive, and of course VR. Well, to be frank with you, they have two different industries in Sony. Two different industries. One is dedicated to the Asian markets, and the interest in certain types of games out there is significantly different to what we have here in Western Hemisphere. And then we have the other, which is sufficing the US and European markets. I feel that the latter, the one that is sufficing us, is massively lagging behind. If you compare Microsoft's daily presentations, like what's on Xbox, then weekly presentations, then Inside Xbox, which is like a monthly presentation, then you have all the presenters doing their own personal podcasts, you have Xbox ambassadors doing the same. I mean, honestly, the quantity of that content that's constantly warming you up and telling you what is coming your way is simply vast. It's very interactive and is greatly connecting. This is what's absent. This is what is absent with PlayStation. I mean, I love my PlayStation. Like yourself, I've been a PlayStation fan from the day one. I had quite a few games on my old PCs in the 90s, and the troubles we had were, very many. First of all, some of the games which you bought as brand new wouldn't really work on your PC because the PC system didn't match the code on the disk or whatever. I don't know what the problem was. They just wouldn't work, so you wasted your money. And the games were as expensive then as they are today. Once you had PlayStation, the only thing you had to do was to connect your PlayStation to your TV set and stick the disc in. Never any problems. So this really resolved many of my worries. I have still a very large collection of PlayStation 1 games I played in the 90s and in the noughties. Really, these games were terrific. Think of games like Medal of Honor, for instance, Command & Conquer, then some of the proprietaries like Silent Hill, Resident Evil. These were legendary games on PlayStation 1, and I actually personally remember doing Silent Hill with my friends, and at that time I had a major home cinema setup with a projector. It was in the 90s, very few people had this, and with 12 speakers, and people literally fleeing the room. It was a bit like living in a real-time your Blair Witch Project. I remember one girl was almost crying. She was so terrified because we were walking to the fog. You remember these creatures coming from the fog, and she could hear the creature coming from behind. She kept swinging the controller and she couldn't see the creature, irrespective of the quality of the image and everything. It was just really next gen at the time. And I also bought Xbox, the original console, when it came out straight away, and I've been always cross-platformer, enjoying everything that was on offer. I still think that the business model that PlayStation have is lagging very, very seriously behind, and is definitely going to have some serious problems if, for instance, we are to be looking at all that Microsoft is providing us with. It's much greater. And don't forget, PlayStation already had agreed to be using the cloud services from Microsoft for both the streaming and various other things that I need. My problem with PlayStation overall is this lack of interactivity. I have the app which is a fantastic app, and I have phenomenal interactivity individually through my community members. I keep getting messages from them at all times, right? But to connect your own community with other people who are doing the same elsewhere on PlayStation is almost impossible. It's completely dead. And on Xbox, it's a completely different story. The way you do it is you are posting the screenshots of your gaming activity to your game clubs, right? And you will be able to get one lot done through the algorithms. So any screenshot you take will go into your feed, which is automatically presented there. And these feeds are really looked at by many, many members. And then manually you will be inserting some of these into the specific games club, right? So let's say Gears of War or Call of Duty or any other. And this is where you get really other people coming in. And they will be approaching you, throwing in comments, and coming to your streams. And in addition to that, Xbox ambassadors, together with their safety team, are policing the forums. I mean, I didn't see on Microsoft forums at all anything which would come across as offensive or defamatory. I was doing also some moderation early in the year. Then I discontinued with that Responder. It was an engine that we had, a tool we had in order to be responding to questions that go directly to Microsoft. And you know, you'd get now and then somebody stroppy, but generally people knew that there would be action taken against them because everything is kind of integrated around their email and the user ID. So if you did something which is offensive, you will lose the access to the service, full stop. And Twitch had introduced a similar thing recently, and they said the advanced technology will be preventing people from signing up under various aliases and all that, which I think is very good. So purely in terms of interactivity and connectivity, I find PlayStation to be lagging behind. Like you said, they have lots of exclusives, and I think that's fine. We all want to have that, and everyone will need to have, you know, that particular console in order to play. Also, the exclusives are, I have to say, accessible through their streaming services, and that's excellent, and they're always there, you know. So that is really well. I'm trying to think. Yeah, they are. You know, like Uncharted and God of War and all the other ones, they're all there. But Microsoft does have a better business model, and if you look at gaming overall, it's about connectivity and interactivity. You know, it's about people connecting, talking, sharing ideas and views, creating new friendships, and particularly so in an era of you know, global pandemic where all the activities are being conducted through online services. I mean, my goodness, I mean, everyone's using Zoom and Skype and WhatsApp, and you know, in order to connect with others. It is just a fact. So there's never been a time where such services were more required, and I think in the near future we'll have more and more of it. I don't know whether in the US they've done this, but with the health service, you know, over here, they were absolutely stone cold on anything online, like doing Skype appointments and that. And today, if I want to see my doctor, I need to be making an appointment by Skype. So they really warmed up due to the necessity, and such services are in huge demand. And I think a lot of work, particularly in terms of our learning, if you're progressing academically, or if you're sharing the views, or if you're building communities, is going to be done exclusively online. And you know, English is the language that everybody speaks now worldwide, and we can connect with literally every nation on the planet. And why not use it to our advantage? Just a fact, right? Our friend Paperclip says, I do think PlayStation is playing more of the short-term game, whereas Xbox is playing the long game. The business model is, yes. You will see that with the streaming services on PlayStation, they adopted the method that actually Microsoft introduced. And the method is throw in a smaller number of games that will be present on the server for a limited amount of time. And this would have been introduced 2018. They began with bigger games, you know, like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, and that introduced to PlayStation Now services for 90 days. And you could also download and stream at the same time. But then after 19 days, the game would be gone. And Horizon Zero Dawn is a proprietary game to PlayStation, and if I'm not mistaken, I didn't actually double check recently, but I don't think it is accessible through their streaming services. So, you know, it's one of those things that you will not have with Microsoft. Anything proprietary to Microsoft is going to be always on the server. So you will never lose Gears of War and Halo and Crackdown and, you know, various other games that are exclusive to Xbox. These games are always going to be there. And also what I like is with those games on Xbox Game Pass, you will access them in the best editions, the editions that have the entire content. So the Ultimate Edition of Gears of War would cost you about $90, I think, and then also extra seasonal content and, you know, various other things that you need to purchase. If you are a subscriber to the Ultimate, you get it all, and that's terrific. I think it's definitely, like I said, it's a business model which is basically looking at a long-term goalpost. On the other hand, they do have, you know, the model that will be changing those games quite frequently. For instance, Red Dead Redemption, I'm streaming at the moment, is one of those games, and I'm not that keen on not knowing when the game is going to be disappearing. They keep you in the dark, and I think there have been some words of criticism launched at them. You know, I only had, it wasn't a message. In fact, I watched a video on it was just one of those Xbox affiliated channels, and they said, remember that the Red Dead is disappearing on the 7th of November, and I said, hang on a minute, I didn't know this. And some games remain on the Game Pass for quite a while, others are rotating, and I understand that if you're looking at Rockstar, they may have their own issues and their own priorities, so they will want people to start out on a game and then purchase it, and they will offer the game also on a major discount whilst it is available through the streaming services, as well as during a short period after the game's gone. So, well and fine, but I principally think they will have to be looking at an enhancement of the model, you know, with maybe a few more titles, and also maybe the methods that will be a bit more advanced than what we have today. But it's early days. These services have been new, and we have. I mean, what I tell you one thing. I had quite a number of people complaining 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Was it last year? When was it? Beginning of last year, wasn't it? February of 2019, that Apex was launched. Apex Legends, that is, done by Respawn, another major developer that worked on Titanfall previously. The game was quite buggy and glitchy when it came out, but it had this fantastic, wonderful world, and it was delivered within that battle royale format. I loved it. I played a lot of it, and, you know, we were hammering it during the first couple of weeks. Lots of fun, lots of new community members. Yeah, really busy Rive community. Everyone from what's it called, Battlefield, migrating to Apex, and also people who were playing PUBG. And you had people who complained straight away about the game, its technical issues and all this, and everything was given for free. There was nothing to monetize right at the beginning. And then once we've had a period of about 3 or 4 weeks, they started with these premium starter packs, and, you know, where you can invest and buy some of the cosmetics. And there was that avalanche of complaints. How dare they charge us for this? Well, hold on a minute. I mean, they've launched it for free. There's been absolutely no cost attached to anyone who was enjoying it for several weeks. They will need to be making some revenue directly from the game, right? And quite frankly, if you want to have cosmetics, you can purchase them, but have absolutely no consequence for the game at all. So it's purely optional. But you will get people who are a bit abrasive and very annoyed with that sort of thing, and, you know, come up with excuses and complaints. I can't really see as to why somebody should complain if you can access 1,000 games on the price of about £16, where two services are combined, and that's on PS Now and Xbox Game Pass. It doesn't matter what problems might be present technically, but having access for £15 to 1,000 games for the whole month is extraordinary. I mean, my gaming life's never been better. I've never played many more games than what I have at the moment, and in fact, sometimes it completely overtakes because there's always that other one. You know, like today, 4 new games coming out on Game Pass. I was pronouncing them earlier, and I'll tell you what these games are, and each one of them is interesting in their own ways. Also, what you said about the business model, I can certainly tell you what they do at Microsoft is they very carefully select a variety. So Xbox Game Pass has probably, I'd say 30 to 40% of the games come from the indie developers, and maybe the developers that Microsoft are quite keen on in order to bring them into the studios, like for instance with Don't Nod and with Obsidian that they bought. Basically they're now under the umbrella of Microsoft, and you know, you have something for everyone. There's quite a variety, and I really like that. So really, quite frankly, for anyone who is coming to the Game Pass, let's say for the first time, they pay $1 for the first month, pay no more than that. They'll be able to find beautiful old adventure games from the 90s. They'll find some retro games. They'll find Man of Maiden style adventure stroke survival stroke horror games that have just come out. They'll get Destiny. They'll get Gears of War. You know, it's quite a variety. It's something for everyone, and that's great. They're not afraid of putting on a game that is very retro with the old style, you know, 90s kind of computer graphics, highly pixelated and dotted, because the game's great. People love it. That is a good approach, and that is basically an approach that I find generally to be more advanced and better than what I've seen on PlayStation. PlayStation has more titles, but overall their library is more biased towards the games that are very popular up there in Asia. So if anyone who likes the Japanese style RPGs and some of the Korean games, they'll have, you know, plenty of opportunities to enjoy all of those, and there are very, very many out there. And as we've seen, for instance, with some of the reviewers, they said, quite frankly, we could not play these games anywhere else. So it's for the first time that we're able to access them, and that's wonderful. So that's again something which is a bit different. But I think in terms of the actual standards, voice services would have to have some sort of exactly the same selection of common grounds, and that is that all of the games can be both streamed and downloaded. That is of essence, and that will massively improve then both the number of people coming to them and subscribing. And yeah, I was going to tell you what these games are, so I can tell you. It is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, so it's a great game. Then it's Lunar Nights. Then it is also the Jackbox Party Pack 4, and then also we today had Tell Me Why Chapter 2, and also there was, what's it called then? World According to Zed. You know, the Zed, the thing which is it's a survival stroke horror game, and it's not popping up here on my app, but let me just see what it's called. Bear with me. It's World War Z video game. I keep thinking of Z, but it's actually World War Z, and it is a game published by Saber Interactive, and developed by Saber Interactive, published by Mad Dog Games, and released through Microsoft. It's a very good survival stroke horror game, so people love it. So you have, as you could see, quite a variety. You have World War Z, this kind of survival stroke horror. Then you have Resident Evil 7, which is, I guess, similar, but maybe more. It's the environment is quite different. And then you have Lunar Nights, that is very much like the old style RPGs. And then you have also the Jackbox Party Pack 4, which is basically like the older 90s games. So quite a variety, and very, very enjoyable indeed. And let me just see. Our friend says it will be interesting to see how the next gen turns out. Competition is a good thing, and I'm glad these companies are taking different approaches for different tastes. And I will be it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top by the end of the generation. On another note, are you still playing and streaming Destiny 1 and Destiny 2? Right now, I'm not, and I've been playing it quite extensively all the way up to about May of this year. But as Destiny 2 comes out on Xbox Game Pass, which I'm anticipating to be taking place next week, they've not given the exact date, and that's because Bungie are still looking at the ins and outs of it. But as soon as it comes out, we are going to have Destiny 2 here every single day. Maybe not for the entire stream, but certainly a portion of it will be attributed to Destiny, and that's primarily in order to promote the presence of the game on Game Pass, as well as to reconnect with our community. One of the reasons as to why toned down my Destiny presence here is that the community became very, very quiet as the pandemic was basically spreading, and suddenly the community towards kind of mid-March, beginning of April, went completely dead. And I've heard from some of our friends in the US, many of them discontinued with their presence online because of the bills. They basically cancelled the internet connection and telephone connection and all this, and therefore they had no online access. Lots of people stranded with, well, debt and problems with finance, and that really did reflect on the number of participants. Interestingly, I felt that within the Twitch community you had many more people playing their own games and fewer participants coming in. I probably made fewer followers and subscribers during the last 6 months compared to anything else before. And as I said, there are both monetary and all the other reality-based reasons for it. So I thought we'll do something which is aligned with our favorite consoles and provide a variety. And also for myself, I don't have more time to play games outside of my streaming hour, and therefore if I'm doing just Destiny 1 and 2, then I'm literally prevented from enjoying all the other games that are coming out. And I had a backlog of quite a few, and that was also of concern to me, because being an avid gamer, obviously I do both variety gaming and variety streams across platforms, so I want to be finding out about all that's happening. And if we look back maybe 3 or 4 years, we go back to maybe 2016, it is extraordinary, purely to consider the number of titles that have come out. It's mind-boggling, and it is very difficult to even remember everything that's been presented. I yesterday looked at A Bard's Tale, so 2 different versions, one that's been completely redone, and then the other, you have 2 versions, one from the 80s and the 90s, and then the other that's been reworked. And it's just truly delightful to be revisiting these older games that have been polished up for next-gen consoles, and also with additional content, with graphics being redone. It's really very highly enjoyable and thoroughly entertaining. I understand the complaints about microtransactions, but it needs to be constructive. I agree with you. If you launch a free-to-play game, it's free to play so that it can launch premium content, i.e. microtransactions, so that the company can make a profit. I can even understand complaints if MTX was paid to win, but they were all purely cosmetic for Apex Legends, and more access to premium content through season passes. You can continue to enjoy the game without spending a dime. Well, it's possible. It's possible, and it will have to be something quite innovative, revolutionary, ingenious, and also it will have to be drawing a very large number of viewers and gamers. They really had a brilliant idea through Electronic Arts, that because Anthem backfired with the alpha and beta, they'll try this as an experiment in order to keep everyone warm, and it just took the world by storm, basically. There was no word on this game being created prior to the actual launch date, and all of that promotion was done through Twitch streams. And this was a great idea. Principally, they had huge number of followers and gamers coming in straight away. There was a bit of a difficulty towards the beginning of Season 1, as many complained that the content was repetitive, but as they progressed down the road of other seasons, the game's been improved in every way imaginable, you know, from the content to the graphics to the tech, and very importantly, they did listen to the community. They changed the way you use your weapons. Everything became automated, much more streamlined for that kind of battle royale environment, whilst initially it was a bit arduous. And you know, I just think it's a top-notch game. Coming back to your point, any one of those games offered for free, they will require high quality content, and they will need then some degree of promotion or connectivity to other services in order to accrue the revenue. You know, that's the bottom line. I'm not sure how expensive Apex was to produce. I wouldn't say it was, you know, on the level of AAA blockbuster. It was quite a indie looking game, but with very interesting concept and delivered, I guess, visually on the level of maybe Borderlands. The characters look a bit like the guys in Borderlands, and obviously kind of tailored to a somewhat different environment. Same puns and humor, but you know, it worked. You never know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. A friend says you can also be competitive without spending a dime, but the premium content is something to draw consumers in to help the company make money on the game. Companies do not launch games for free because they're nice companies. All companies exist to make money and hopefully make a profit. I see the issues coming in when companies are greedy, but publicly traded companies need to constantly do better, or their top managers will be fired. Yeah, I think there is a difference. The difference is between doing it in a way which is consumer friendly and in the gaming industry absolutely connected to their followers, fans, investors, and investors, you know, not like shareholders, but investors in terms of the overall connectivity, interactivity, and participation, and that's your fans and gamers, right? So the companies need to be absolutely connected to them. Provide us with a forum through which we can see that the community concerns are being heard and then digested, the changes applied. That sort of company will always have a very good response, and people will not be bothered to pay extra money. You know, they will feel that they're being included in the actual production of the game. Microsoft are trying something which is called game preview at the moment. There's a game called Grounded. This game is very similar to I'm trying to think. Well, you know, the characters are similar to Fortnite. It's a bit of a survival game with characters that kind of look like walkways from some cartoons for children, and they will try to give a section of a game which, in inverted commas, is kind of still being made, and then they'll have a community of gamers on Game Pass visiting and providing them with feedback. It's an experiment. It's for the first time they're doing it at the moment, and I actually had some requests for feedback directly from Microsoft on the game, and we need to wait and see. I think lots of people like being included, and many of those are also paying attention whether they're being listened to. Somebody is a Destiny veteran, invested $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 in the game. They really want to feel heard. That's the key. I don't really think that any other issues will be seen as obstacles. If people feel that they're heard, and if the company is adapting their future content to what they've heard from their community, i.e. the requests that were being received, in order to adjust or create some extra content, then the fans will be very happy. Everybody knows that you have to be paying for the games and for the content, and the new business models may well open up new horizons of ideas. I don't really know. We need to see, and certainly from my point of view, what I've seen so far has been very much of interest, and it's providing us with delightful innovations, but we all have to be patient. And just like I said, I personally do not like the companies that are very greedy, but frequently there will be a clash between the developer and the publisher. The publisher is like the distributor in Hollywood. They will need to have a marketing budget, they will need to have major revenue to push the game, and therefore they will have to have some muscle in order to get some degree of interest and to get something done they believe is necessary in order for the game to to be seen by very many. So these are very important issues, and I still feel that doing the business in a way which is community based and user friendly and maybe subtle and maybe a kind of approach that takes a bit longer is always the best way forward. And our friend says, good to hear about your streaming of Destiny 2 soon. I have a doctor's appointment and that's crept up on me and I need to head out. I always enjoy chatting with you and look forward to checking your streams out in the near future. Thank you very much for a chat, and I'll catch you soon. Well, thank you very much, sir. Paperclip was here with us and we were discussing many industry-based related issues. Very grateful for your participation and for your contribution. Thank you so much for that. First of all, I wish you a healthy and safe travel to your doctors, and certainly hope that the appointment is for something very minor without any other need for you to be revisiting, and also wish you a very good day, sir. My goodness, we've had a very interesting conversation, a very busy community evening here, and our gameplay here had in fact stopped really as we were to set up the camp, and I need to work and I'm not really sure myself what I need to be doing. Try to go there and talk to our friends. Like 3 different things in there. Mission brief. Honestly, I'm not sure. Let me just see very quickly what I need to do. This has been a very interesting evening with our community members. We talked about lots of different things. So I need to take a short break and I need to get a breath of fresh air. And equally, I will need to drink some water. So bear with me, I'll be back literally very shortly. So stay with us, I'll be back in 5. friends, we need to be setting up a camp. And I worked out what I actually need to do in here. I need to look at the inventory first. And then we need to look at the section that says camp.
I'm famished.
Cook that rabbit, then. They're delicious on an open fire like this.
Fine by me.
What's the recipe? 1 of 4. Can cook 5 of this item. Wild mint, oregano. I don't think I've got the items. Yeah, it looks like I just got many enough things for one recipe, which is the basic one. Game meat, not oregano, any spices or anything else. Nevertheless, we'll do that.
Go on, then. I thought you said you were famished.
So now we want to be eating.
You want some of this?
No, I'm fine. I don't like eating this late.
Okay. After all that.
We'll do more. I'm hungry. That's probably enough. Maybe we'll cook another one. And I'm going to be fully hungry. I mean, fully fed after eating it, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so that's it. Now we can go back.
All right. Well, we better get some rest. I want to be up at first light to find this monster.
He better be worth all this drama.
7 hours of sleep, early morning, we awake, and we need to be looking for that major grizzly in there, a big bear.
Horn and Arthur.
Ugh.
You ready?
Well, give me a minute.
Coffee?
Sure.
There you go.
So, what's your plan?
Well, we'll see if we can track him, but we might need to lay bait to draw him out. Bears like fish, obviously, but they also have a sweet tooth. A lot of fellas bait, then shoot from the trees, but I prefer to hunt on the ground. More dangerous, but we'll have a much better chance of getting a good shot in. And if he bolts, we can start right off after him. Can you mix up this bait for me while I finish packing this up? Fish, berries. Tie it up in that rag when you're done.
I hope you know what you're talking about.
I grew up in the mountains, Arthur.
So we've got plenty of stuff here to cook, and that needs to be cooked for the predator. So we have gritty fish meat and blackberry. So let's see what are the other recipes. That's just about the only one I can do, I think. So we'll do...
I was virtually weaned on bear meat.
Okay, I think I got this done.
Good. Pack up and we'll get going. What's the hold up here?
So the craft fire here will be always ready for tonics, horse care items, ammunition, anything. So we'll leave. We'll go and get the bear.
Okay, let's go.
There is my horse.
We'll try our luck down by the walk.
I need to look at those weapons. Peter. And this.
Here, that's where I saw him last.
Okay.
How's that horse treating you?
So far, so good.
You know, I was in this area with Bessie years ago.
Really? I didn't know that. I imagine you still miss her.
Hey, this isn't the right way. Every day.
Did you two ever think about getting out of the life?
We did briefly. You don't remember? Guess you were still young. Didn't last long. I drifted back into it. She understood. She knew what I was.
I remember you not being around for a while, but well, things were looser back then.
Truth is, there's never really any getting out. And staying in, it's hard. You know that. But Bessie and I made it work. Why? You thinking about getting out?
Me? No, of course not.
Listen, if Dutch's grand plans work, and we can make enough money to go someplace new, really new, maybe we can all have a new start. Anyway, for now, let's try and chase ourselves a bear, shall we?
Let's get that bear, shall we? Well, he'll know exactly where the bears are, so need to find a good spot.
Let's look by the water here, see if he's been fishing again recently.
Okay.
Look for tracks, dung, bones, any sign of him.
Okay. I actually need that weapon, so he was here, alright, as you could see. Eagle Eyes telling us that he was here.
Well, there's some paw marks here, Hosea. They sure look big enough.
Good. Let's hope it's him. Tell which way he went.
This way.
This is the way, as you could see. The tracks can be seen, our eagle eyes working. We sort of increased it a bit, I think, with some of our newly acquired skills. Now we get to the bear.
Tracks. Go into those trees.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
half-eaten fish here. Must have been left by our friend, I reckon.
Come on, see if there's anything.
Follow the trail.
Something else on the ground, just here.
I'll take a look then.
There's shit here. Watch your step.
Looks real fresh. Reckon he's got to be close.
Let's keep
don't
going.
know. Well, there was something else in there that I saw.
Damn it.
So the bear should be somewhere on here. Didn't see anything else.
Looks like the trail ends here. We lost him?
For now. A little optimism, Arthur.
Well, what do you think?
I think we split up and each look.
Either that or we could place bait here.
That could work. Which you think?
Let's bait here.
Fine by me. Let's leave the bag over there. By those boulders up ahead, looks like a good spot for it.
Okay. It's the wrong location. Don't know why.
By those boulders up ahead, looks like a good spot for it.
No? But where then? Maybe I need to look at the map.
By those boulders up ahead, looks like a good spot for it. Now we wait.
So the bear's gonna come. For certain.
pounds, you say?
More or less. Big scar down his face. Hey, did that bait look okay to you?
I think so. You're the expert.
Ready with your gun there?
I'm good. You okay? You seem nervous.
So do you. I'm fine. Let's just take a look at that bait.
Sure.
Come on.
We only just said it, Jose.
I know, but we need to do this right. Give me a hand here. Got your knife? Shit. See. No, it's too... Everything all right?
She legged it. Now we should be able to track the animal, huh?
Arthur! Is he gone?
Let's see where he went. Return to Jose. He's hiding in here.
You're fine, old man.
Of course I'm fine. It's nothing. Nothing at all.
Thank you, I think. That was fun.
You know what, Arthur Morgan? I'm a little old and beaten up to be after the biggest game. You can have this.
What is it?
It's a map. A man in a bar gave it to me. Well, I stole it from him, but that's another story. He said it told him where to find some real big animals.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. You saved my life, Arthur. I think I'm going back to camp to lick my wounds. You coming, or you gonna track that monster? Well, you coming or not? I don't mind either way.
I'm gonna stick around here for a while.
See you back at camp. Yeah!
Well, if we've gone this far, that's quite good then. I'm going to be getting sounds like a Sounds like a train. But I want to go there and find the bear. I want to be winning this medal.
Let's see what we got. Must be a way off. Getting
Yes,
close.
that's right. Getting close. Oh, there's the bear. I can see him. He's over there. Okay. Should have been wounded. I hit him like 6 times.
Stay back!
So that wasn't a thing to do, but the question is, what weapon would be really effective? Maybe with bow and arrow, I don't know. What's going on in here? That's not the place where I was. Horseshoe Outlook. It's not it. It's journal. No, that's not it. Not it. Not it.
Let's get...
No, that's not it. I don't think. Oh, the bear's there. Okay. It's been a while, and we have had a lengthy stream today that combined both our Tell Me Why and Red Dead Redemption games, and hopefully you guys enjoyed both of these. Tell Me Why being premiered here on the channel and also given to us by Xbox Game Pass. It's the Microsoft Studios exclusive, so only people who are on Xbox can actually access it and play it. we've had a lot of fun. The game is wonderful and mysterious, and it brings us to the world of Alan Wake and Twin Peaks. We'll carry on with our investigation tomorrow, and also in Red Dead we had completed a few of our tasks and talked a lot to our community members. So hope you guys had a lot of fun. Hope you learned something about what's happening out there in the wild, and I'll depart now, and on that note I will wish you all a very, very good night.